So I decided to add 3 toggle switches for series parallel for each pickup and a phase switch. I could do a couple of those things with push-pull pots, but I didn't feel like doing that. So we have a little bit of room here, and what I did was I took a piece of paper and I laid it down on the body, and I, with a pencil and my finger, I rubbed on it to find the edge, and drew it out, and I cut it out, and I lined up the screw holes. And here's 3 switches I have taped together. They're a little big. They're kind of old switches, but they're cool. So I'm going to use those, and I have to find out where they're going to fit. So this way, I can see that they'll fit here between the wood. There's not a whole lot of room. So now I have to, I'm going to measure and make up a little drilling template so I can space the holes. I also have to find the rest of the nuts. If I don't have the rest of the nuts, then I guess I need to order some switches. I have lots of single pole switches, which don't do me any good. Those nuts might fit too. I'll have to try them out. But I don't have any double throw switches like this. I have some on-ons, but not the ones we need. Like here's an on switch. So that's gonna be the next step. So if I'm kind of eyeballing these from the edge of the threaded part to the edge of that threaded part, it's a 1/2 inch between each center. So I'm going to make a test piece on a piece of pickguard material. I'm going to drill 3 holes a 1/2 inch apart and see if these fit through. And if that's the case, I'll use that as the drilling template here. Make sure I have enough room. After several attempts and a few pieces of scrap plywood, I started with a piece of MDF that was not very good. Here's 3 1/4 inch holes, 1/2 inch apart. And here's our 3 switches. That one's sideways. Now I can get a good idea about how much space they're going to take up. I drew on here my cavity location, and it looks like they fit nicely right in there, which is, you could also see where the pots are. I'm just going to put them a little bit on an angle, and I think that should do it. And like I said, if I have to, I'm going to I'll just make a mark. If I have to, I can remove a little tiny bit of wood. I lost my lead. That one's not really sharp. And here's my 3 holes. And that should do it. Now I have to drill those over in the drill press. So the reason for doing it on a piece of wood is it acts like a drill guide. So I'm going to double stick tape this on. I can see the marks I made through the tape, or at least I should. In fact, fact, let me darken those a little. This, of course, would be a good use for doing it on a computer, which I do a lot of times. I don't have a CNC setup, but I do plot things out on the computer with, you know, the actual measurements and everything. But in this case, we're doing it by eye, and now I'm going to use this as a drill guide. Now my pickups are in here, so I'm going to have to float this on a piece of wood, but that should do it. And this will give us a nice little angle here. I think it'll look nice. I don't think I'm too close to that pot. I have more room there. Maybe I'll try to move it down a little bit. Just a little. You know, do it like that. That's slightly closer to the trouble pot. So hopefully they're kind of visually centered. That's the actual center would be right here. See if I could scoot it over just a little more. I'll split the difference. Obviously, once I drill the holes, I've drilled the holes. So I'm mounting the switches just temporarily. They're sticking out too far. I need the some washers behind it, other nuts, just to make sure everything fits in the guitar body. And I did a preliminary test a minute ago, and everything seemed fine. Where'd my nuts go for the volume control? And that's how they look. Whoa, okay, where am I? There I am. That's how they look with the knobs. They could have been up a little more that way, maybe angled a little bit differently, but you know what? It's fine. And functionally, it's good. So now let's make sure it fits in the guitar body. Okay, so I lost the knob. Wires are in the way. Okay. I had this down before and it seemed to, getting tangled in the wires, it seemed to fit okay. It's actually the so they have to come over just a hair. Maybe if I rotate them slightly. Okay, there we go. So I just had to rotate the switch ever so slightly. And everything seems to fit. I can see the screw holes. So that's a good sign. Those are our knobs. Yeah, it could have been more in this angle and down a little bit further, but I'm okay with it, and it's functional. I can reach the switches okay. So now I gotta wire it up. So I have my switch. I had to get the old wires off. I had this in another guitar of mine. I'm not using new parts for this build. I have my little diagram here for series parallel switch. There's two different ways to wire them. This switch already had a jumper between these two bottom connections, so I'm picking that one. And green and ground go to this one. That got hot real quick because of the bare ground wire. I've had this pair of hemostats since the 70s, actually. Kind of crazy to think about. I think I'm going to separate this green and bare wire, make it easier to solder these. So I see posts, like I'm in the Facebook guitar wiring group, and people are always like, hey, do you have like a, wiring diagram for this, that, or the other? And it's very often a very standard, 2 pickups, a switch, volume pot, tone control, and there's really no reason to look up a diagram for this stuff because it's all the same. Now here I'm doing something a bit different with series parallel and phase switches, but when we get to the volume and tone pot, I'll point out that, you don't need a wire diagram. I'm not working off I have a diagram for the switch. I'm not working off a wiring diagram for the rest of this. I do it on a piece of paper, which I will show in a second. I think that hole in that switch is still clogged up. I can't find my good solder pult. It's here somewhere. In fact, I think there's 2 of them. This one doesn't quite have the suction as the newer one. Yeah, that hole's not open. Desolder braid to the rescue. That didn't work either. I think it's time for a new set of helping hands. This is an old one from Radio Shack. Remember Radio Shack? I used to love when I had a Radio Shack right down the street from me. When I lived in New Jersey. And yeah, I could just, you know, I needed something. And I could just go and pick it up. That pot, I mean, that switch is getting very hot. So, let's try this again. There we go. The hole was clogged up with a old piece of wire or solder or something from the last time I used the switch, because I've reclaimed these from my another guitar build, which I've since rewired. And that's that switch. Now it needs two wires coming off, one for the hot, which is going to come from the black, and the ground, which is going to come off the green. Now I have to wire the neck pickup the same way. Then one of the pickups, it doesn't matter which one it is going to go to a phase switch, because I thought, why not? It's kind of fun. I alternate with guitars between having a lot of tonal options through switching and you know, my Parker P38, which I wired up with two humbuckers, just has a volume and a pickup selector switch. And it used to had three pickups. It had three on-off switches, which is what these little switches are from. Had three on-off switches. It had a phase switch for the middle pickup. And it had, I think it had a series parallel for the bridge pickup. And at one point I also had a mid-range choke. And I don't know, I guess I just didn't find those particular options all that important for what I was doing. So I didn't bother to, when I switched it over to two humbuckers, I didn't didn't take all that stuff with me. But for this one, I thought it could be fun to try a few different things. I gotta clean this switch up also. Yeah, this solder pult, this particular one is not very good. These are nice though because they don't have any recoil, which is a big problem when you're desoldering something, because you bring the solder sucker over and you push the button and you get a bunch of recoil. And the solder pults don't have any recoil, so they just kind of do their thing without, I don't know how they do that. I think I have 3 of them, and this is the old one. And it doesn't work as good as the 2 newer ones, but I seem to have misplaced them, and they're probably in a drawer somewhere. I put things away, and then I can't find them. So actually got that one to go through the hole. You know, it was filled with solder. Oh, I did the wrong thing down here. So I thought I was being clever, and I used the green wire also as the jumper between the two bottom ones, but then I realized I'm looking at the wrong diagram, and the green wire doesn't go down there on this one. It's for the other series parallel switch. Ouch, burned myself. So that's okay. There's something about doing videos of this stuff that, like, I've seen other YouTubers say the same thing. It's like things are so much easier when you're not having a camera pointed at you and you're trying to film this while you're doing it. And I'm also burning my fingers. And that hole's clogged up. Doesn't look clogged up. You can get these kind of switches now, like series parallel and things on little circuit boards. You attach your wires to the circuit board instead of having to solder to the switch terminals, which I think is a nice improvement. Okay, so that one's done. Now we have our phase switch, which is simply a crisscross across the outside terminals, and then a pickup connects to the middle one. And this needs a little cleaning up, mostly on one of the contacts. I'm going to show a little trick with phase switches, which I don't know if I'm going to incorporate in this, but if you want a phase switch without it totally thinning out your sound, you put a capacitor in series with the out of phase setting, and the capacitor will roll off the low end. Yeah, that solder sucker is kind of lame. The capacitor rolls off the low end, so you don't get full phase cancellation. And also, capacitors will introduce a small phase shift. I don't know how much of that is really at play. I think it's more a matter of the filtering. But I may or may not do that. I'm doing something similar with capacitors in the main pickup switching, which we will get to, which I think is kind of interesting.
Several days later.
Okay, we're back a couple of days later. And I'm going to finish wiring this up. So, this is the neck pickups series parallel. You can tell which way switches go. They're the opposite of the bat. So when the bat's that way, these terminals are connected. So that happens to be series. And I want the series to be down. So that's going to go that way. Make sure I have enough stuff there for the other nut. All right, I have to put the wires that come out of here. And they're going to go to this 5-way super switch. It's a bird, it's a plane. No, it's super switch. This is really very overkill. I'm only using 2 decks out of it, but I had one laying around. The whole thing was having a switch that has 5 actual contacts, not 3, and then it shorts them together the way traditional switches work. I'm going to go a little bit thinner wire. This is 28 gauge. This is what I use when I wire coils and humbuckers. About how far it's going to go. That's about like that. Now I have to wire the switches to each other. These are all done. Not the best looking solder joints. Alright, so the bridge pickup is going to go here. Bridge pickup switch, I should say. bit more. And the phase switch goes in the middle, and that should be this way. And this needs wires attached to it, so more wires, I should say. So I think I'm going to run the neck pickup through the phase switch. These wires could have been much, much shorter. So I will do that. There's our 3 switches partially wired up. Now I have to wire the output from the bridge series parallel to the pickup switch, and this is the output from the phase switch. And the grounds, of course, will get soldered to the volume pot. So now it's time to get those in. So I'm going to wire the 2 inductor coils together so they act like a humbucker, which stops you from picking up hum. Ordinarily, if they were a regular pickup, you would do, because they're wound the same way, you would do start to start or finish to finish, but because I'm putting them facing each other, they're going to be start to finish. My start wires are the ones coming from the middle, like that, and that's a finish wire. It doesn't matter which direction they go in. Just as long as they do. And let me solder that. And just to demonstrate what this is as an inductor, each coil is about 1.5 K. So we'll get our LCR meter out. And this reads at 0.8 Henry. Seems a little low. Is it? That's out of range. Yep, that's about what it is. And I'm going to, normally I use I think it's a 632 bolt and a nut. And I can't find my package of 632 bolts, so I have just a screw. Has to be steel, it has to be magnetic. We'll see if that increases the inductance any. Yeah, so now it's 1.4 Henry. Because they're stacked up and I have a screw in the middle, so I'm going to tape these together. And that's going to be our mid-range choke, along with a 0.02 microfarad capacitor. And that's going to wire up to our tone control. Okay, so before I get it wired up, did I just break something? You can see our different sounds. So we have neck pickup sounding thinner mixed with the bridge pickup. Neck and bridge equal. Full neck pickup with the bridge pickup having a cap. And then full bridge pickup. And our series parallel works, which you can't really tell much. And the phase switch is working, even though you also can't tell, because you have to hear both pickups together. And the mid-range control works, and the volume works. So hooray. Now it's just a matter of, I have to run a wire from the volume pot that's going to go to the output jack, and a ground wire to the output jack. And I have to shoehorn all this into the guitar, which is probably not going to be a lot of fun. Okay, so everything does fit except for the inductor on top of the tone control. So I did find my 832 screw and nuts, so I can put that together the way it's supposed to be. I don't have any washers to go in between, but I don't think it really matters. I have to extend these wires now, and I'll probably put it, I don't know, like it might fit here, or I could put it, yeah, it'll probably fit here. I can also put it where the middle pickup would be in the body. But I have to run some leads now. And off camera, I got a piece of, I found a jack I already had wired up with some shielded cable, which was probably from that tone and volume control harness already wired up. That was probably for something and it didn't get used. So once I do this and then put everything in the guitar body, I can string it up and see what it sounds like. Neck pickup.